Let's be honest, most of what comes out of Hollywood these days makes a mockery of America, but there's still a place telling stories that remind us why this country is worth celebrating. That place is Angel Studios. Like Sound of Freedom, a powerful true story that exposes the horrors of child trafficking, Something to Stand For with Mike Rowe, an incredible tribute to ordinary Americans who risked everything to defend liberty. And The Last Rodeo, a heartland drama about a bull riding veteran who comes out of retirement to save his grandson. It's the kind of storytelling Hollywood forgot how to do. Go to angel.com/Charlie and become a premium Angel Guild member today. Support entertainment that builds something worth passing on.
Now streaming on Angel.
The great Tom Homan, the legendary Tom Homan.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, and there's been a lot of stuff in the news, but the most important stuff has actually not been talked about this week, which is that there is a slow motion insurrection happening on our cities, and again, there's so much stuff happening. We have the flooding in Texas, which is terrible. Tom, bring us up to speed. What happened in California? There was a marijuana farm that was raided. Minors were working at it, and is it correct that an illegal alien discharged a weapon at ICE officers?
All true. So we're serving criminal search warrants. I mean, it wasn't your normal, like what the media want to call immigration raid. We're serving criminal warrants, a part of a criminal investigation into, illegal weed farm, child trafficking, labor violations. So we're there enforcing the laws of this country. And the protesters showed up in force, assaulting officers. And if you went and actually asked any of the protesters, what are you protesting? They couldn't tell you. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They just a hatred on ICE. Hatred on ICE that is perpetuated by members of Congress. So if a member of Congress can call them racist, they can call them the Gestapo, then, these nuts in the public, it just emboldens them to go out there and take on ICE, which is, they'll lose.
Yes, they will. And so at this specific incident, a guy started shooting at ICE officers. Have we found out who that person is?
FBI is investigating it. I know a little bit, but I really can't talk about it right now, but they're deep in it.
So what did we learn about this specific marijuana facility that was so egregious? They were using child slave labor or something akin to it?
They had unaccompanied alien children that crossed under Joe Biden. Some of the ones that he released and he lost. So they're working, and it's just.
And so this is important. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom. This is what the media calls a farm. So you know how there's been a lot of controversy around farms the last couple of weeks, right? So at this farm were illegal aliens that were how old, Tom? 12?
Yeah, they're young teenagers.
So no, this is not what you think it is. Working on farms. These are illegal 12-year-olds that come and they're producing marijuana.
Right.
Illegally.
And we're continuing investigation on the interviews. Were they even being paid? Or were they paying off smuggling fees? How many hours were they working? Look, I've said this forever, and I truly believe this. I've been doing this since 1984. No one hires an illegal alien out of the goodness of their heart. They hire them because they work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition who has U.S. citizen employees and drive labor rates down. So a deep dive investigation, interviews are being these kids will have. They'll do a forensics interview, and we'll uncover the trafficking issue and try to find those responsible for smuggling these kids and trafficking them, and then we'll prosecute.
And so, more broadly on the Deportation Project, you recently said, I don't want to misquote you, Tom, and you're doing an amazing job. Isn't Tom just doing incredible? He's just phenomenal. You recently said the goal is to get to 7,000 deportations a day. Is that, am I quoting you correctly?
What I said was the media's out there great, losing their minds because there's the goal set of 3,000 a day. And they asked me, is that even possible? Isn't that racist? I said 3,000 a day is nothing. Because if you do the math, we would have to arrest 7,000 a day for the rest of the administration just to remove those that Biden released in the country. You're not talking about the 15 million plus already here. So 3,000 days, it's a drop in a bucket. And with the big, beautiful bill now passed, just watch and see what happens.
And so 7,000 a day would be like 2.5 million people a year. Can you talk about the self-deportations as well, because if history shows for every one person that we deport, there could be upwards of 10 people that self-deport. Is that about right?
The study's been done showing over close to 1 million have already left the country on their own or through the app. And I think a big part of that is what we're doing right now. We got over 1,000 arrest teams on the streets of this nation arresting illegal aliens every day. Of course, prioritizing the public safety threats, national security threats first, but they see. Now you can wait and let us find you and deport you, or you can get your affairs in order and leave on your own and make yourself available for other opportunities in the future if they come up. But I think consequences matter. Bad behavior doesn't change unless there's consequences, and we're showing
Amen.
consequences.
So I'll tell you a quick anecdote. So a local church that Eric and I go to, it's a Catholic church. I'm not Catholic. She was raised Catholic, but we just like going there, and a great community and fellowship to go and pray, and it's great. And it's beautiful. I love beautiful churches. I like beautiful things. I don't like going to church in Costco. Sorry, I don't. So I don't like going to a Home Depot to worship. Call me old-fashioned. So they're doing this major marble project at this church. Major, right? And so the priest who I know, we were walking in one weekday just to go pray, and the marble project was half finished. And I said, "Oh, hey, what's going on here?" He said, "Oh, I got to tell you a story." He said, "So the original contractor started this effort, and he had to stop at the beginning because all of his labor self-deported. And so then he was super worried that he wasn't going to be able to fulfill the project. He found Americans within 48 hours that did a better job for only $2 to $3 more an hour, and it's all legal and it's all American, and the job will be finished at the exact same time." Everybody, don't believe the lie. We can get this. And that right there is a glaring first-person example, because we're so, who's going to be the stonemasons, and no one's going to want to work on the roofs, and no one's going to. We have grown addicted to illegal migrant labor in this country.
I got a similar story. So a few years ago, I had to put a new roof in my house because of a storm. I had to call 5 or 6 different companies before I found a company that guaranteed me a legal workforce. But when I was getting the bids, the father and son showed up. And they're hoping I didn't need a whole roof replacement. They're hoping just to repair it. But once they saw it, they said, "No, we can't do this." And he told me a story. He had a successful roofing company, had over 20 U.S. citizens employees that he put on the roof at $20 an hour. And he lost the business because he couldn't win any contracts. So other companies putting illegal aliens on the roof for $7 an hour. He just couldn't win a contract. So now him and his son just go out and do roof repairs. He laid off 20 U.S. citizen employees. That happens every day across this country.
Every day. And this idea, look, I will acknowledge that some of the youth of America, there are some of these jobs that they don't want to do. But I reject the premise in a country of 330 million people that we have maxed out the labor potential of this country. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it, okay? You do not, and what I will buy, though, is that, yes, if you don't raise wages, then there will be a problem. But we're not talking about going from $20 an hour to $85 an hour. We're talking about minor adjustments on the wage scale, which, by the way, I would personally, as an employer, by the way, we only hire legal Americans at Turning Point USA. The fact that I have to say that is ridiculous. We use E-Verify. But as a citizen, I want to make sure the workforce is not just legal, but I feel an obligation to fulfill the mandate of my fellow countrymen, because, Tom, you're getting at something. Is it correct that the thrust of hiring illegal labor is that they actually don't want to pay Americans just the normal wage?
Absolutely. Like I said, they overwork them, underpay them. And I agree with you. We have plenty of workforce here. If they get out of their mother's basement, stop protesting ICE, and go get a job, they could actually add to our economy.
Well, and even beyond that, I hate racial politics, I really do, but we have Brexit, and Black America has been treated terribly by the Democrat Party, awful. You want to know who's been treated the worst by mass migration is Black America. And how many Black Americans who used to do a lot of these jobs happily, carpentry, woodworking, and all of a sudden you bring in a steady flow of illegal labor, and people say, well, they just work harder. I guess I could sympathize for I'm sure that at the extremes that's true, right? Would you agree, Tom, at the extremes? But at the median, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I think that this idea that you need to get like maximal corporate return even though you don't have a nation, it's been a bad bargain for us, actually. It's that we're a nation of strangers. We don't know how many people are actually in America. We have no idea who they are, but we save a couple bucks an hour on wages.
I remember when I was another example, when I was ICE director, just a few years back, but we actually did a worksite enforcement operation on a plant in Chicago that made sausage. We arrested a lot of illegal aliens there. Within 2 weeks, they were back open, replaced by black labor. Gave them more jobs. So that's just one example. So you're exactly right. A lot of them have been displaced because of illegal immigration and cheap labor.
So Tom, let me ask you then. So we saw this in Nebraska, where there was a meatpacking facility, raided it, all the illegals were arrested, line out the door for Americans to get the job the next day. Why don't we hold the employers accountable? Like, why don't we have? Why don't we start arresting business owners that are knowingly arresting illegal aliens? Aren't they breaking the law?
They are, and just
federal law.
And just a couple weeks ago, I gave a direction to ICE that I want to see many, many, many more criminal prosecutions at work sites.
Love it.
Of employers.
Of the people that know they are processing fraudulent Social Security numbers.
We're going to prosecute not only an employer, but if you use a false Social Security card, a false green card, you're going to get prosecuted too. Zero tolerance.
I love it. And look, and I think we should acknowledge this. Not in every sector are we going to be able to refill the workforce overnight. It's not going to happen. There will be hiccups, there will be bumps, but I think it's worth it as a national project because eventually we will solve it. And understand this, that in agriculture, everyone talks about farms, farms, farms. Okay, do you know that our reliance on migrant labor has largely actually held back the farms from automating, investing in robotics, and actually becoming more efficient? Because they don't want to spend their money on that. They could just keep on hiring illegal migrant labor. It's actually held us back significantly. But we're told, Tom, that all the crops are going to rot in the field if we do mass deportations.
Look, I know that the president made some comments about farmers. I know Department of Labor, DHS, and Department of Agriculture are all getting together talking about possible options. But and I'm not going to get into the president on this, but I can tell you this: there will be no amnesty. Can't happen. When you reward illegal behavior, it is not going to stop. We're nation laws. We need finally say enough. We're done.
Yes.
So I understand the policy discussions. I'll get involved with that this week. But I talked to the president, and he said there will be no amnesty.
He said the same thing to me on a phone call a couple days ago. No amnesty, period. And he's been clear on that. But I want you in those policy discussions to come back with a message from Tampa. Because if they even play footsie with amnesty, this coalition will be more angry than anything that's happened over the last decade. This is the core campaign promise. We finally got the one big beautiful bill. And all of a sudden we're now flirting with jeopardizing our coalition. So I want you to just bring that memo back to the policy discussion. They have not seen the MAGA base so animated. I mean, we are not even at yet removing all the Biden people. And let's play this out, Tom. And the great Stephen Miller and I had a great conversation about this. So let's say somebody says, well, if you've been here for 15 years, you can stay. And you get legal residency. Sounds common sense. Okay, fine, sure. But let's talk at this in practice before we even get to the policy. Tom, do we have any record of when any illegal has come across the border?
No.
So therefore, if you say if you've been here for 15 years, you can stay, wouldn't every illegal just say the magic words, hocus pocus, I've been here for 15 years? And even if you could prove it otherwise in court.
Well, that happened in 1986. I was there
Simpson,
in 1986.
Mazzoli, talk about that.
Well, during IRCA in 1986, or what they call a special assault program, special agriculture worker program, I was a special agent at the time, and I conducted criminal investigations. I can tell you over 85% of those applications were fraudulent. He just went to a farmer, gave him $100, he gave you a letter saying, yeah, he worked for me for 90 days from this day and that day. There is no check and balances on that, so it's just ripe for fraud. And that was a failure of the 1986 amnesty, and it will happen again.
And on top of even the fraud, guys, What it would do then is it would suspend all deportations in real time, because all they'd have to do is say the magic words, and you'd have to adjudicate it, and it would backlog the courts, and you wouldn't be able to have hands on any illegal alien, just as a practical matter.
But we gotta go beyond the time in the country, what they're going to claim, what time they have in the country. But we also got to talk the false narrative being pushed by the media that we're deporting U.S. citizens. We're not deporting U.S. citizens. I said this from day one. If you're in the country illegally and you choose to have a child, that's on you. And when you get an order of deportation, it's parenting 101. Either you take the child with you or leave him with a relative, the other spouse. Having a U.S. citizen child in this country doesn't make you immune from our laws. Because if that's the message we send to the whole world, you're never going to fix this problem.
Yes, and by the way.
So like I said, what can you do? Can you do a mass deportation without separating families? We deport them together.
Yes, and by the way, the kid technically, we need to get rid of birthright citizenship. It's a terrible thing. It's awful. I'm not optimistic the Supreme Court's probably going to wuss out on that, but I hope we get a victory there. But I guess the kid's still a U.S. citizen. But you're right. The whole mass migration project, post-1986. So for those that don't know, Reagan, worst thing Reagan did, by the way, by far. He was a good president in a lot of ways. This was his biggest mistake, by far. Would you agree, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. And
IRCA was a mistake.
Yeah, and so he comes out, Simpson-Mazzoli, we're going to give amnesty, a pathway to citizenship for anyone that worked on a farm all the way up to 1985. And then we're going to have all this border enforcement stuff. None of the border enforcement stuff actually materialized. No. But all the amnesty materialized.
And none of the work site materialized.
None of the work sites. So all these promises of how tough we were going to be, none of it happened, but all the amnesty happened. But here's the kicker. And Tom, you're a government official, so I don't know if you can comment on this, but I can. Which is that we were promised that all Hispanics would vote Republican if we gave them amnesty. And I want you to understand this, because I hear this from sometimes the ruling class. What happened is actually Hispanics got more Democrat every single year until Donald Trump came, and he actually won back Hispanics by promising mass deportations. So if you want to win over Hispanics, you actually talk about lawful deportation, because the legal Hispanics are sick of people that have cut in line, stolen Social Security numbers, lied to the system. Am I correct on that, Tom?
When I was there, I was an agent at the time. I'm old. I started this in 1984.
I love this. This is before I was alive.
But I was an agent during that time. I remember, I get pissed off a lot, but I remember being pissed off back then because there was so much fraud going on. And CIS, who was taking, well, it was equal to CS at the time, that were taking the applications, ICE officers at the time, INS Special Agent, weren't even allowed to enter the building to grab the fraudulent applications to take action on them. They totally separated the benefits from investigations. So even though there's 90% fraud, we weren't allowed access to the government records. That's how bad IRCA was run.
And so then we fast forward, and we had open border, open border. Trump is the first one to not just say, let's close the border. By the way, Tom Homan deserves such credit. The border, we're not even talking about anymore. How many people crossed the southern border into the interior United States in May?
0 were released. Everybody that crossed was sent right back.
0. And so,
I'll tell you a better number. The number that excites me the most. Under the Biden administration, they averaged 1,800 gotaways every day. Known gotaways.
every day.
Every day. Because we had digital, we had video, drone traffic, sensor traffic, 1,800 a day on average. You know how many there was yesterday? 11. 11 too many, and we'll close that down. But we went from 1,800 to 11. And the crossings were 99. To 2,000 miles of border, we had 99 crossing. How many got released? 0. How many got released last month? 0. How many in the month before that? 0. We ended catch and release.
And Tom, you haven't spoken yet on stage, right?
No.
Okay. When you do, I hope you emphasize it, because a lot of people are, they're confused and they're fighting about stuff, and that's fine, that's healthy. But I hope everyone understands the securing of the southern border. If that's all President Trump does and he golfs for the next 4 years, that alone makes this all worth it. No, seriously. That at least buys us some time to have a nation again and to have a republic.
And having the most secure, right today, you have the most secure border in the history of this nation today. And what has that done? Fentanyl seizures have dropped in half. Sex trafficking women and children are decimated. Number of Americans dying from fentanyl has dropped significantly. Sex trafficking is decreased to a level we've never seen before. I mean, President Trump, by having a secure border, saves lives every day.
So this is now the key, and this is why Tom is so important. He's a hero. It would be very tempting and easy for us to avoid the big cities.
I know.
It's where all the drama. No, I know, but I want to build you up for it. Tom.
That ain't happening.
The cities is where you reclaim the country. That's actually where you exert dominion, because what they're doing is they're trying to be like, okay, you can do your raids in the rurals. Tom, are we going to avoid LA? Are we going to avoid Denver?
No, we're going to triple down, and we're going to triple down on them. And I said this. You know, right after we got in office, the mayor of Chicago said I wasn't welcome in Chicago. Guess where I was the next day? Chicago. And I'm going to Portland.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But President Trump, we talked about this, President Trump said it the other day. Sanctuary cities, we're going to prioritize sanctuary cities. We're going to send massive amount of agents to sanctuary cities because we know we have a problem. We know they're releasing public safety threats back in the community every day. Like, we don't have that problem in Florida. Every sheriff in Florida is working with us. Good thanks to the great Governor DeSantis.
DeSantis is doing great.
You know, so we'll take resources from Florida, we'll throw them in New York. We'll throw them in LA. We'll throw them in Portland. We'll throw them in Chicago. We'll throw them in Seattle. Every sanctuary city that wants to double down on ICE, we're going to triple down. We're going to flood the zone. Flood the zone in the neighborhoods, flood the zone at work site. We're going to win this war because what we're doing is making this country safe every day. Every criminal, illegal alien, or public safety threat that we deport makes this country safe. And that's what we're going to continue doing. We're going to keep President Trump's promise to the American people. We're going to make this country safe again. We're going to enforce the immigration law without apology. And I don't give a
No, you're fine.
I did it once for you.
No, you're fine. We're not live. You're fine.
And look, I'll just say this. I take a lot of hate. I hit pieces on me every day, and I love them. Because I get tired, and when I read a hit piece, just throw gas in my fire. So I don't give a shit what people think about me. We're going to do this job. So the doxing of ICE agents is terrible. The assault on ICE agents are terrible. The attacks on me and my family, yeah, unfortunate. But guess what? We're not leaving. We're going to keep doing this job. We're going nowhere. So we're going to finish the job we started, and we're going to finish it till the last day of this administration, and hopefully on the next president, Republican president, we'll have 8 more years of doing it. We're going to clean the nation up.
Amen. So I love it. What does the big, beautiful bill mean for you and for your effort? What has now, it's passed, it's the big, beautiful law. What do now you have at your command to be able to reclaim the country?
Well, it does a lot of things. First of all, for the southern border, we're going to finish the wall. And not only finish the wall, we're going to finish the technology in the existing wall that Joe Biden stopped. He didn't just stop building the wall. He stopped putting the technology in the wall that made it a smart wall. So agents can talk to one another in dead zones, that we know when someone approaches the wall, climbs the wall, or tries to dig under the wall. It's also going to add technology to the port of entries. So we can still move legal trade through the port of entry as quick as possible, but still catch maximum amount of contraband. On the interior, 10,000 new ICE agents. Never heard of that before. This is the biggest plus up in ICE we've seen in the history of the agency. 10,000. Right now, we got 5,000 deportation officers, over 20 million illegal aliens in this country. That's a huge plus up, more boots on the ground. It's going to give us more detention beds. We're going to go to 50,000 beds to 100,000 beds. So we're going to have plenty of room to put people there. We're going to increase the teams as soon as we can. Academy is already starting to roll out. We're going to move a lot of agents through that academy. More boots on the ground, more transportation contracts, more beds, more contractors to do jobs that don't require a badge and gun. It shouldn't take a badge and gun when someone comes in to report or to do arrest reports or processing. Let contractors do that and get that badge and gun on the street where we need them. We're going to keep focusing on public safety threats and national security threats. If you think the numbers look good now, just hold on tight.
So I think it's also worth mentioning, recently there was this an MS-13 leader arrested in Nebraska, and I don't even think we knew who he was or how he got, I mean, and all of a sudden here he is, this guy that El Salvador has been looking up. Do you know the case I'm talking about?
Yes. That shows the great vetting that the Biden administration claimed they did, which they did. Look, millions of illegal aliens were released in this country without proper vetting. And Secretary Mayorkas will stand on stage and say, oh, they're properly vetted. They're all properly vetted. That's a bunch of garbage because we don't have access to most countries' criminal data, if they even have a system like NCIC. With the Chinese and the Russians and people from Syria, do you really think those governments are sharing any data with us, especially national security data? These people weren't properly vetted, and that's why we're working so hard to find them, because they do pose the biggest national security vulnerability I've seen in my lifetime. What Joe Biden did to this country is the biggest national security vulnerability I've ever seen. Under Joe Biden, over 400 people on the terrorist watch list were arrested coming across the southern border. Under Trump, 45, 14. 14 compared to 400. But what scares me most is the 2 million plus gotaways. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because you pay the cartel one amount of money to just get to the border, turn yourself in a green uniform, get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice, get a free hotel room, three meals a day, and work authorization. So why did 2 million people pay more not to get that free giveaway program? Because they didn't want to be arrested. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. They didn't want to be vetted. That should scare the hell out of everybody. It scares the hell out of me. Who were they? Why did they pay more to get away?
How do we fix the asylum scam? Because the asylum system is so gamed.
That's easy. They just, in the first interview on the border, the threshold's so low, the cartels teach you a couple of key phrases. Okay, you pass the first interview, you come in. But when you get to immigration court, the threshold of proof is much, much higher. So we're saying, hey, easy fix. The first interview threshold should equal the judicial threshold. And hold that, then look, those that don't know, they keep calling these people, they're asylum seekers. They have a right to claim asylum. They got a right to see a judge. Yep. Yeah, okay. Well, here's the facts. Based on immigration court data over the last decade, 9 out of 10 people claim asylum at the border end up with an order removal. They're asylum cheaters, because they're not escaping fear and persecution from their home government because of race, religion, political affiliation, or membership in a specific social group. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that, but it's not asylum. So when they keep yelling and screaming about asylum seekers, understand 90% of them are asylum cheaters, and while they're cheating the system and backing the system up by 5, 7, 9 years, there are actually thousands of people in this world that really do need our protection from their countries, and they're sitting in the back seat. So the asylum system needs to be fixed, needs to be addressed ASAP, because even though we're doing all the positive things right now, this can all be undone by a Democratic president, like Joe Biden did to the most secure border of my lifetime. So we got to get Congress, get off their ass, and pass some legislation to fix the system.
Absolutely. Walk us through, I know I got to get you on stage here, Tom, but walk us through. There's been so much social media misinformation saying ICE is the modern Gestapo, they're going after U.S. citizens. What is the process of enforcement, and what should people know that the media is largely missing?
The vast majority of people we've arrested are criminals, public safety threats, and national security threats. Now the media says, well, the percentage is lower than I'm claiming. Well, they don't count misdemeanors as crimes. They don't count taking a guy out of a county jail pending charges as a criminal. We do. If you're in a county jail, you're probably not a choir boy. So we count criminals as criminals. But the vast majority of people arrested are criminal aliens. That's just a stone cold fact. And what people need to understand, why is so many collaterals, non-criminals? Well, I'll tell you why, and I said this from day one. If you're a sanctuary city and you're going to release that criminal back into the community, we're going to go find him. And when we find him, we find others that aren't criminal targets, but they're in the country legally. They're coming too, because we're going to enforce immigration law. So sanctuary cities get exactly what they don't want: more collateral arrests, more agents in the street, and more worksite enforcement. If they want to push back against ICE, this is what's happening. So yeah, non-criminals are arrested, but last I remembered, entering the United States illegally is a crime, and we're going to force that crime.
8 U.S.C. 1312
exactly.
Or something, right?
And I said this from day one. We prioritize public safety threats and national security threats. But if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table.
All right, I want to open it up for some questions. We love doing this. But guys, I just want to say, ask a question for Tom. Don't give a speech. Don't tell us that your neighbor's getting deported or something and you're worried about it. Sorry, he's not going to help. Okay? So I get those questions all the time. Charlie, my friend's getting deported. Okay, fine. Sorry, I can't help you. So ask a technical question of Tom, please. And I reserve the right to cut you off because Tom's time is very valuable. Okay? So just keep it focused on the stuff we talked about. Yes, sir.
Sure. As one former New Yorker to another, could you give us a little preview of...
Hold on. Let's turn up the mic. Yep.
Sorry. as one former New Yorker to another, could you give us a little preview of what will happen under potentially soon-to-be Mayor Mamdani?
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I gotta watch what I say because of hat check. I am a government employee, but let me.
That's why I was trying to protect you from yourself.
I've been in trouble a few times over this. Despite what he says, he's not going to stop me from doing my job. I'll leave it at that.
That said everything. Yes, sir.
Thank you for what you're doing, first of all. My question is, do you think that if the United States invests in bringing jobs to Latin America and supporting freedom movements in all the socialist countries in Latin America, the immigration issue would subdue itself?
I missed that, I'm sorry.
So I think you were saying, should we invest in Latin and South America for economic freedom movements and such? Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Well, let me tell you what I do know. We've done that under every administration. It hasn't worked because many of these countries are corrupt, and the money doesn't get where it belongs.
It does not work. Yep.
Thank you.
It does not work. Yes. It's all good.
So one of the ways you've shut down, basically shut down all the illegal immigrants from across the country is by building up your social media by using it as deterrence. Is that correct? So could you tell me how and what are you planning to do to keep on doing that?
Well, look, I'm an old guy. I'm still learning social media, and social media it makes a lot of people brave because they attack you and they hide in their parents' basement. They can say anything they want. But I actually have staff that I'm just starting to do social media a little bit. I do have an X account, but and I find that a lot of people, like Facebook, I had a Facebook account and I got 8 people claiming to be me. So I got some really smart people working on that, but I agree with you. The power of social media is life-changing. So the White House is pushing social media. My staff's going to push more social media because that sends a message to the whole world. Rather than talking to the group here, I know Charlie's got a big following. Social media, you got the whole world. So we're going to do a hell of a lot more social media and educate the people on the truth about border enforcement and immigration enforcement.
And let me also say that part of, you see the guys walking through MacArthur Park. Make no mistake, guys, those videos are being seen in the third world. They don't want to come here because the visible, intimidating, that has a chilling psychological effect, and for good reason. So that is a way to deter invasion by just displaying the force of the federal government. Thank you. Next question.
So I'm actually going to take 2 questions if you don't mind, because last time I was here at Turning Point's December event, my dad actually had a heart attack, and so I'd like to take 2 questions if you don't mind. My first question is, there was reports and there's some possibility of ICE going to war with the cartels. Do you think that would just turn into a strict military event? Or how do you think that would turn is my first question.
There's 2 divisions of ICE. There's enforcement mover operations, there's Homeland Security Investigations. Homeland Security Investigations is working with the Department of Justice. President Trump committed to designating the cartels terrorist organizations. He did that, and I think that was a great move.
Yep.
And you're going to see the whole might of the United States government taking action on the cartels. Some of the preparatory work's already been done. President Trump will wipe the cartels off the face of the earth.
Let's go.
We're already bankrupting them with the border at the most secure it's ever been. Illegal immigration down 96%, which means 96% less people are coming, which means the Border Patrol is 100% vigilant on the border. They're losing billions of dollars in alien smuggling, billions of dollars in sex trafficking, $1 billion in moving dope across that border. They're already hurting, but we're going to finish the job.
And the Mexican president has a good relationship with President Trump. Is that fair to say, Tom?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, and much better than with Obrador or whatever his name was. So last question, yeah.
I'm looking for a new job. Would you be hiring?
Have you gone to the Turning Point hiring booth?
Tom.
Huh?
And I said Tom. I didn't actually say Charlie. No, I'd be open to it, but I was
Fine,
actually
no, you
Tom.
blew that. So
You want a job with ICE?
Yeah.
Then give me your name and number.
All righty, we'll do.
Next question.
We're doing massive hiring now because of the big beautiful bill.
I imagine, Tom, a lot of the people that would become ICE agents are former cops that might have left because they were dispirited. And how cool if you were a cop that like left the San Francisco Police Department to come back into San Francisco working at ICE. Am I right?
I had to shut down my LinkedIn account because I couldn't handle the number of people say, I want to work for ICE. Retired cops, retired military, Border Patrol agents wanting to come back, ICE agents want to come back. We have no lack of resources.
And these are tough dudes. And that's who we want in ICE.
Hey Tom, so my name is Brandon. I'm a Latino from LA, and as someone who was born with a family that fled communism from Cuba and became legal citizens through the legal process, thank you for everything you have done. I am ashamed of what's going on in LA. My question is, they've leaked, I'm sure you're aware of this, they've been leaking where ICE agents have been staying in these hotels, including one close to my house. Is there any way DHS and ICE can proceed a legal action towards the hotels for the manager and employees leaking to the protesters where they've been staying? Because I'm sure it affects your safety and the ICE
Absolutely. Well,
it's a great question.
DHS working very closely with Department of Justice on the doxers, on the people who are leaking our operations, where they're at, because it's only a matter of time before ICE agents are ambushed. So we're taking it very seriously. Again, zero tolerance. You know, and I actually talked to President Trump last night. He called me from Air Force One and wanted how this is going. So we're putting all efforts into this. So for these punks that want to get on and to tell where we're at and want to show up to protest, you got something coming.
And let me add to that. So Tom, can you just add more detail for the audience? Thank you for the question. For the audience about this mask off thing. So the Democrats are trying to say the ICE agents shouldn't have masks, which for the reason, I just think this is the most evil group of people. You masked our children unnecessarily during COVID for 3 years, and now you want ICE agents to take their masks off because their lives are actually in danger? Like, actually, screw you, you guys are evil. So the...
Yeah, it's okay for BLM to wear masks. It's okay for the rioters to wear masks on college campuses that want to attack the Jewish students. It's okay for the criminals to wear a mask, but the reason ICE is wearing masks is because the doxing is at a level we've never seen before. They're not just doxing the agents. They're doxing their wives and their kids through social media. So they're wearing a mask to protect themselves, and I support 100%, but it's just incredible how these legislators say, well, we want to unmask ICE, but the criminal protesters that turn criminal and violent and attack ICE agents, they haven't said a word about their masks. So, you know, I support ICE wearing a mask, and, you know, I don't care what the legislation says. They're never going to pass it because we control both houses, and we're going to continue doing what we're doing to keep the agents safe. I got more death threats than anybody. I had 1,000 protesters show up at my house, and I'll say it again. You want some, come get some. I don't give a shit. But I'm telling you, the men and women of ICE, they are American heroes. And I want someone to remember this. Every member of ICE, agents and the deportation officers, they're mothers and fathers too. They have kids. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they come to work. They're enforcing the laws that Congress enacted and that they're appropriated with funding to do. And they're executing orders by a federal judge to deport somebody. They're not making this up. If you don't like what ICE does, then change the law. Until then, we're going to enforce the law without apology.
And so Tom, if this ever becomes a big problem, all you have to do is have Bobby Kennedy write a guidance memo saying they need to wear the masks, they're afraid they'll get COVID. And that's all, and everyone will be okay with it. Fan Chan.
Hi, Tom. I'm from Nebraska, and I just want to thank you for ICE being there in Omaha. But I also want you to know that you need to stay out west of Nebraska because we have a lot of meat packing plants out there. We have tons of illegals in Nebraska. I want to thank you for always coming to Charlie's events. We love hearing from you. I want you to know that when I pray for President Trump every day, I also pray for you because it does break my heart when I hear you say that your wife has to live separate from you. So just thank you for what you're doing for our country. Many of us really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
She's a great patriot.
And I'm aware of Nebraska. I'll be out there very soon to look. We're coming. What? Will you make me dinner? Because I haven't had a home cooked meal in a while.
Fan Chan, she's a rock star.
My boss won't give me a day off. Listen, the reason I support Charlie Kirk so much, he's on the right side of the issue. He's picked a side. He's not like a lot of these people, they want to dance. He picked a side. And I think this man here was a big part of why President Trump's in the White House.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, and I was wondering if there's a way for everyday Americans to file a report on someone who they suspect is an illegal immigrant, whether it be in a grocery store, school, or the obvious spot, a Home Depot.
You get on the internet, go to DHS tip line or ICE tip line, you can file a report there, and we have a big team goes through those reports every day. So if you got it, go ahead and report it. Lehigh, it's a great wrestling area up there. You wrestle?
I've had coaches ask me, but I played tennis.
All right. Great wrestling area up there.
Thank you. We'll do a couple more, then I got to let Tom get on stage.
In the previous administration, the Biden administration, was it protocol for if someone came in illegally and released, was it protocol for them to get a free plane ticket, free housing, food, and a free phone? Has it always been this way? And how much did that cost the taxpayers these past 4 years allowing that? And do we know how many hundreds of billions of dollars that is?
Well, we're going to find out because I worked with Mark Green. We're going to start having investigative hearings on exactly that issue, how these NGOs made billions of dollars. But you're exactly right. I said earlier, the Biden administration not only released them, they flew them to the city of their choice on a taxpayer-funded airline ticket. They put them in a free hotel room at $500 a night. They gave them 3 meals a day, free medical care, then work authorization. And let me tell you why they did that. We don't talk about this a lot. Why did they do that when we had empty ICE beds throughout the nation? We had thousands of empty ICE beds at $127 a night, sitting empty, already paid for by the taxpayer. They sat empty. Why? Because they knew they put them in ICE bed, they get a hearing within 40 days. And at 90% lose, and they'll be sent home. They didn't want that. They put them in a hotel room in a 90-day docket because they knew the hearing would be 3, 5, 7 years out, much as 9 if you exhaust all appeals. They play the long game. They figure they do that, maybe another Democrat president coming to power, and he gives millions of people give amnesty to millions of people. And that's why they're pissed off, because they're ruining their plans right now.
That's right. Bingo.
One other quick question. I'm in the real estate development business, and I see a lot of jails available throughout the country for peanuts. Would ICE consider buying in any jails and reopening those jails for detention centers?
Yeah, we're working on that right now with a big, beautiful bill. You'll be seeing a lot of requests for information, requests for proposals going out. We got a lot of sheriffs offering beds in their facilities. And we got, of course, got a lot of contractors willing to build soft-sided facilities and brick and mortar. Again, we're going to have 100,000 beds, so there's an opportunity for a lot of American companies to help us detain these people and deport these people. So you're going to see that. They should be happening this week. A lot of requests for proposals going out. Appreciate the question.
This will be the final question.
Hello, Tom. Hello, Charlie. I'm a Portlander, born and raised, and I got to say, sanctuary status has been killing my city for the better part of a decade, sucking at dry everything that made it beautiful. You mentioned Portland a little bit earlier, but could you possibly go into more detail about what plans you have for Portland and Seattle, Chicago, the sanctuary cities? Because I want my city back.
Yeah. Portland's been a problem with ICE for several years. The building's been attacked numerous times, been damaged, hundreds of thousands of dollars in property damage. And the non-law enforcement personnel are at severe risk of personal injury and death threats. And that concerns me. You know, ICE agent, deportation officer, they have a Kevlar vest and a gun. I don't want to see them, in danger either, but for the non-law enforcement personnel, they're afraid to come to work. And the Portland PDs, they don't help. It's a sanctuary city. So I'm going out there and show the men and women of ICE that I got their 6. I'm going to have their 6, and we're not running away from Portland. The stuff that's happening in Portland right now is going to stop. Because we got zero tolerance. You want to come to an ICE facility and throw a rock, you're going to jail. You want to threaten an ICE agent, you're going to jail. It ends. As a matter of fact, last night, I'll share this with you because I'm sitting at home watching Laura Ingraham, and she's talking about the rock throwing. While I'm watching, I get a call from President Trump on the airline, and he says, enough, zero tolerance. They throw a rock, you get out, and you arrest them, you put them in jail. That starts. You show all those haters out there want to keep throwing rocks, you got something coming. You throw a rock, you're going to jail. That's all there is to it, zero tolerance.
Portland needs law and order again. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I just want to say in closing, everybody, what Tom is embarking upon is, in my opinion, we say this often on the show, the most challenging and ambitious public policy project in modern American history. It pales in comparison to the Hoover Dam. It's almost up there with the Moon Project. To remove 20 to 25 million people that were let in by a previous administration as alien invaders, that is so difficult. And it's going to come with ups and downs and lies from the media. But at the end of that, just think about everybody, is a country that all of you guys actually remember. And that's what it's finally in our grasp, and that's why where there's like no negotiation, no wavering, no amnesty, no exceptions, none. I don't want to hear about any of that. I've been hearing about amnesty my entire life, okay? You know what your amnesty was? Your amnesty was the last 30 years when no one actually patrolled this stuff. Now, playtime is over, and Tom, I just say thank you sincerely from the American people, because what you are doing is the most important part of this agenda. Give it up for Tom Homan, everybody.